Hello and welcome to Aha Moments. This one is called Taking Noise Seriously. Oh, do we take noise seriously or do we just allow noise to happen like a distraction? So this is Aha Moment it was originally published May 30th and 2023. Now you can get these ahas on a weekly basis if you like. You can be the first to get them at 8 a.m. Eastern. All you need to do is go to jrang.com and subscribe, and you'll get this and other really cool stuff. So, and I look forward to hearing your comments. You know, if ever you receive an aha, just write me back and let me know how it affected you and you know what you got from it. I do love when those comments come back. It helps me to understand sort of the depth, put it that way, the depth of the reactions or the responses to what I'm writing. I tell people all the time that I've been writing ahas for probably 8 years now as I record this, but I'm always talking to myself first. So I'm never on a soapbox giving advice that I would not give to myself first. And most of what I'm sharing is what I'm learning or something that just kept circling around and I had to write about it again because, you know, the universal law is pretty consistent. So, you know, easy to draw on those components on a regular basis. And ahas happen at different levels all the time, right? So how many times have you read a book and you pulled it out, you know, a couple of years later and you read it again and you realize that there, you know, that you got so much more out of the book because you've evolved, you've learned, and they say you know, there was nothing in the book that you didn't see before, but there was something in yourself that wasn't there before, right? So this aha is based on this book called Noise. I picked it up at the airport when I was traveling to Bermuda, and I guess in April earlier this year. So yeah, I haven't gotten through the book yet. I read it there and the way back, and I still have lots of pages to go. But there were a couple of things that I picked up on initially that I thought were just so fascinating that I wanted to share some of that with you. So I'm going to pull up the aha that was released at that time. And I'm going to taking noise seriously, and I'm going to read that with you again. You know, you can go on to jrang.com, and under the ahas, you can pull it down yourself. You can read it again, or share it. You know, share the link if you want. I'm going to share it on social media as well. But hey, it's yours. It's yours, and by all means, feedback anything that you have. So here we go. How does noise affect you? Are you one who needs some noise? You like to have people around you, music playing, or the TV broadcasting in the background? Or are you one who loves quiet so that you can hear the sounds of nature or be with your own thoughts? Our preferences likely shift somewhere on a sliding scale between full-out distraction and hearing the voice of God. But it's not just audio noise that has an effect on us. I would not be able to do the 395 pages of noise by, I'm just going to say the authors, in a 74-second blog, but it's worth a shot. You see, the research in this book cites several cases where we contradict ourselves in judgment because of internal noise. Take court judges, for instance. They statistically make different rulings and hand out different levels of sentencing for the same crime. And it's not just difference between judges, but the same judges on different days, in different moods, with different circumstances, who will impose a greater or lesser penalty than they did the week before, or maybe that they will do the week following. They being the authors, to it as sentencing lottery. And I quote the authors in saying, cognitive biases and other emotional or motivated distortions of thinking are often used as explanations for poor judgment. Now, end of quote. 4 people can be approved for a loan and the 5th, equally qualified, rejected. Biased? In fact, our preferences, behaviors, choices, judgments, and decisions have so much to do with the noise going on in our minds. Often noise is chalked up to bias when noise could be about feeling hungry, tired, or having to do with an earlier argument, weather, or that the individual you're dealing with reminds you of someone else. Noise could be the excitement of it being your birthday, that you're feeling strongly that your colleagues will agree with you on the matter, or you're simply earlier in the day. How can we conquer the emotional impact of noise and be more consistent with our judgment? Aha. Argue against yourself. When it comes to making important decisions about which candidate to hire, the weekend away request of your teenage kid, moving the family, merging, or taking on a business partner, or something pivotal, especially that affects others, challenge yourself to slow down your process and take a different perspective before you decide. Assume that your first decision is off the mark and think about a few reasons as to why that might be. Ask yourself what these new considerations might imply. Measure your noise, good or bad, and maybe even table your final judgment for a different day. The authors say good decision-making must be based on objective and accurate predictive judgments that are completely unaffected by hopes and fears or preferences and values. End of quote. Calling noise a flaw in human judgment. I believe it's a gift of feeling and awareness. You learn to use it wisely. So, how does that sound? Isn't that a different perspective on noise? So it's not just the external noise that we can actually see. It's the internal noise that we're feeling or conditioning. I made myself a couple of notes here because there were so many different ones. In other words, you know, how many times I'm in a good mood, so I'll let that slide. Well, if you're a judge or a police officer or somebody in control of, you know, of a circumstance, and you're there to make an impartial decision and especially impose a, you know, a potential penalty on somebody, are you going to go out and you know, that if you're in a good mood, you're going to let slide, and if you're in a bad mood, then, you know, everybody's going to pay for it? Well, I think that's kind of true, right? That's what the authors are saying, is that a lot of what is a lot of the noise is chalked up to bias. In other words, if somebody a judge, you know, gives an unfair sentence, it may be because the person is of color, or the person, again, reminds himself of somebody that they knew, like something that is a little more specific in it. But the internal noise that's going on to do with the fact that we could be hungry, we could be tired, it could be something to do with our conditioning. What else did I write down here? Somebody crossed us, or a past fear, like something, or a fear based on a past circumstance is more what I mean. And I was thinking, I was writing, I thought I never would want to make, say, a sales pitch to somebody who recently had some negative financial information imposed on them, because they're probably in a little bit of a shell shock position, and the last thing that they're going to want to do is spend money, even though you may be pitching a phenomenal investment to them, but maybe that you know, that they're not in a position emotionally to be able to make a good quality decision because of all of the internal noise that's going on. That could be, you know, maybe they're second guessing themselves. They had some bad financial, and then they're looking at, well, geez, maybe the market is, you know, is shifting, or maybe my team is not, you know, is not analyzing accurately, or maybe I'm not a good leader. Like, can you imagine all of the noise that happens when just some kind of information like that is delivered, all of the things that people will go through? So what the authors, they're saying a flaw in human judgment. Well, I guess it is to a certain extent, but we're not robots, right? So I don't see it as a flaw. I see it as a gift. I see it as a gift as in awareness and insights, and the fact that we do feel. I think that that it's just a matter of learning to harness that, right? So what they're suggesting, and as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking of, you know, some of the decisions that are going on that I made a few years ago, that I'm now in a position of having to entertain those decisions, or the results of the decisions, or the repercussions of the decisions are now facing me. And I'm looking at it going, geez, you know, did I make the right decision? Who knows? I don't know that there's a right decision. It's just a matter of you creating your destiny, right? Deciding that I'm going to trust that whatever is happening, I will be part of that design, and that I will take control of whatever that is, or at least influence what that the outcome is, right? So, but in the you know, I have kind of looked at some of those decisions, go, oh, why did I make that decision? Had I done what I wrote, which is the author's recommendation, had I done that in terms of kind of, you know, taken the opposite opinion of it and tried to remove some of where I was in terms of my judgments, my conditioning. I know one of my friends, I was making a large purchase about a little over 3 years ago, and one of my friends said, you know, I told her I was, you know, I was concerned about making a decision that I made, you know, 15 years ago. And she said, you're a different person now. Like, so much has changed. So why would you even consider that? Why would that even be a fear? Why would that come into your mind as part of your calculated decision-making mode? Oh, I made that error in the past, so you're going to make it again? Likely not, right? So, but I think that's the point that the authors are making in terms of, and again, I've only read maybe 25% of the book. So, and a lot of it was case history, sort of talking about the measurement and talking about, just laying the foundation, right? And I know they go through more case histories, and then they go through a real how-to process. So they even said in there, look, if you've read our work before and you understand the concept, then you'll probably skip to the how-to and get right to it. And I may even, when I get to that point, I may even do another blog and share a little bit more so that we have more concrete steps. But I think the gist of it is the authors are saying, I'm interpreting, slow that process down. Be your own critic. So in other words, look at the noise, ask yourself, what could have gone wrong. Like, assume, if they said, take a position that it's a bad decision. And if it's a bad decision, what are the things that, what are the elements that could go wrong? So you're doing a little bit of a SWOT exercise on it, right? I think that our bigger decisions that, especially a lot of my business friends and leaders, take that. But I have a lot of business friends who are, who are leaders of organizations, and they still wrestle with some of this stuff because our emotions naturally come into play, right? I think at the end of the day, some of the decisions are going to be made where what makes me happy, at the end of the day, what makes me happy, and we're going to go by instinct, right? So, and most of us aren't judges and, people who are putting others at risk, but we are employers, so and we are parents. So, that we need to take that seriously and say, we're in charge of, we can influence certainly people's lives. So we want to make those decisions carefully. And most importantly, we want to make them really good for ourselves, right? Again, we're a spiritual being in a physical body having an experience on earth here. And we want to have the best experience we can. So we want to make sure that whatever it is that we're creating is for highest good. And so why not slow that decision-making process down a little bit, right? If we're in a good mood or a bad mood, maybe it's time to, if it's a big decision, to table it over a couple of days and see how you're feeling during those days, what is coming in terms of the conditioning, the noise, anything, and get some feedback, get some input for sure. But, be that critic for yourself, so that when, at the end of the day, you're saying, at least I eliminated to the extent that I can, as much noise as I can, and I made the decision, both thinking and feeling, and I'm comfortable with it, right? And then you just go forward, right? Then you just go forward. Once you make the decision, you let go and you keep going, right? That's probably for me anyway, sometimes the hardest point. But again, as I said, I'm always writing these ahas for myself first, so I'm going to admit my weakness, my faults, and some of the hurdles that I jump on a regular basis. And hey, if you relate, then good. Let's work on it together. Anyway, hope you're having a wonderful day. I look forward to connecting again soon. And like, share, subscribe. Most importantly, succeed deliberately.